Okay, what's up, guys? My name is TMossBoss, and I wanted to let you guys know about Anchor. Anchor is an app that you can download to record your podcast in the easiest way ever. Like, it doesn't require a whole lot to know. Like, you just pretty much press record and you just start doing your podcast and stuff. I don't know what you plan on doing, but you plan on doing something. That's why you're here. So, yeah, download Anchor, or you could go to their website, anchor.fm, and yeah, you could do it straight from your computer too. So yeah, it's easy. They distribute everything to they distribute your podcast to every streaming services like out there, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere. Okay, and then you can monetize it, so you're making money off of what you love doing. All right, so people, make sure you do it. Make sure you download Anchor, or you go to their website, anchor.fm. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for listening. Peace. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss Show. And in today's episode, I'm going to be pretty random topics, but I figured I should just give you guys a 2-for-1 special rather than talking about one and then talking about the other. But anyways, so what I'm going to be talking about is our hip hop legend, the biggest hip hop legend of our time. You've seen him in Are We There Yet? You've seen him in Friday, Boys in the Hood. Ice Cube supports Donald Trump. And I'm going to open up his Twitter account, which is, it's already open. I got it open up just to, see where he's coming from out of all of this. But, yeah, Ice Cube is currently trending right now because it's something that you wouldn't expect. I mean, this man has been rapping about racism, police brutality. This man has been, you would think that he would rather fight Trump or would rather cause some physical harm to Trump rather than supporting him. That's why I'm like, it kind of confuses me because I'm like, yo, this dude, he literally does not acknowledge any of the police brutality that be going on in the world. He didn't acknowledge George Floyd. The only thing that he had to say was that he didn't like the fact that people was rioting and looting and stuff. Bro, that doesn't mean nothing, okay? A man lost his life. A black man lost his life. He ain't said nothing about Breonna Taylor. He ain't said nothing about any of the people that has died in the recent years. So that's where it really confuses me. But then he turns around and then he says that either it was the Proud Boys or some neo-Nazis or some Ku Klux Klan people. He calls them fine people. I'm like, I just don't. And then with the debate, and he was just like, oh, stand by, some stuff like that. I'm like, how, Ice Cube, how do you, that's where I'm like, nah, I gotta sit down in front of this man and be like, yo, how do you support him? Because he can say whatever he want to say to try to get his Hispanic and black voters, but it's like, bro, the way you was acting at the start of this all, from the very, very beginning, you displayed who you are. So do you think, my thing is I feel like what a lot of people are forgetting, and they're just all like, oh, let's just throw away everything that he said prior before. Like, now he wants to help. Now he wants to do this. Now he wants to do that. Because there's people that I'm friends with that they try to throw that at me all the time, that Trump, he's for the black people, he's for Hispanic people and all of that. And I'm like, no, he's not. When there's black people dying left and right every day from some cricket cop, no justice is being served there. And then you have Hispanic families, whole families locked off up in cages. I remember I said that some time ago, that's like a modern day slavery. Because why do you got these guys locked off up in cages for what? They're not causing no harm. There's more people outside of the cages causing harm to people than them. And they haven't even done nothing. I'm pretty sure there's a good percentage of people locked off up in them cages. Over 90%. Definitely over 90%. Probably over 95%. I am as confident as I can be that literally, most likely, nobody in there is a criminal. And I don't know who they trying to find. I don't know who they trying to... But I'm like, there is so many like criminal activities that's just being thrown away, left. And I'm like, do you think somebody, okay, that just, ran the border, they're trying to find a new way of life, they come here, do you think they will put that in jeopardy to like starting their new lives like with their family and stuff? Do you think that they would commit any crimes and put that whole lifestyle that they were thinking about, do you think they would put that in jeopardy? Because I know if I was Hispanic and I know I was trying to find me a new life in America, I know I would be the most cleanest person ever, the most cleanest person ever. So my thing is like, why would they jeopardize that? I'm like, if we trying to worry about other people committing crimes like outsiders and stuff, no, we need to worry about the people that's already in the country committing crimes and they getting away with it. I'm saying, man, like that's crazy. I'm like, I'm confused on Ice Cube supporting Trump, because I'm like, bro, you was literally rapping about this stuff like in your prime, like trying to push off a message to people. Like he's trying to be this like prolific like black leader, and it's no disrespect to Ice Cube, but it just kind of confuses me how you preached all of this stuff, but then this happens. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I'm very confused on the situation. Like, and I know people are trying to convince me on supporting Trump. Look, you guys should have maybe tried to tell me this when I was a kid. I'm a grown man now. I notice things. I see things. So I'm not going, there ain't no way possible you guys can force me unless there is somebody like got my family done kidnapped like my family or like close people around me. That'd be the only way I'll come out on any platform saying that I support Trump. Other than that, I'm like, I ain't got no reason to support Trump whatsoever. Even then, I still probably wouldn't be if my family was taken. Even then, I was like, because I was thinking about starting a series just like showing all the things I do, like just like a little comedy series, all the different things I would do rather than supporting Trump. Because like it will take, like I said, you would have had to convince me from when I seen Trump in WrestleMania 23, like back then, maybe even younger, all right, in order to get me to support Trump. I support, and the thing is that before this whole like president stuff, like when Trump was just, I did like Trump. I did, because I thought he was funny when he was on wrestling, but that was the only reason why. Other than that, I didn't watch his TV shows. I didn't watch him on any other TV show. Like if I seen his name, I'm like, oh look, there's Donald Trump. But now when I see him, I'm like, bro, I can't look at you the same. Like back 13 years ago when I was watching you on wrestling and stuff, fighting with Vince McMahon, that was entertaining. But now, and it's funny because Vince McMahon, any wrestlers, WWE, there's any wrestling organization that I know of, and I mainly watch AEW and WWE, but they don't even acknowledge Trump. They don't. Not at all. Maybe on their own platforms where they're saying how they don't support him, because I know the one, well, he's a retired wrestler now, but yeah, you guys might know him from the Guardian of the Galaxy movies, Dave Bautista. He shows that he don't support Trump. And I'm like, I'm like, man, like one of my favorite wrestlers. I'm like, yo, that's funny. That's right. I wonder if he was like cool with them back then, or is that was just like because I'm like, I don't know, like as a kid, you ain't really paying attention to that stuff. But I feel like as an adult, when you're like somewhat, because Dave Bautista, he was wrestling at the time when Trump was like involved in wrestling and things. And I remember he was like, I think he was like one of the main event fights that night at WrestleMania. So I'm like, I would imagine that he had to come across Trump or know who Trump was. So I'm like, that would be my question to Dave Bautista. I'm like, did you notice any of this stuff like 13 years ago when he was like all involved in wrestling and things? But if not, then I'm like, yo, that's crazy how it's like, you smiling all in this man's face thinking he cool. But then 13 years later, it's like, now look at him. I'm like, bro, he telling quote unquote Proud Boys to stand by, and I'm like, bro, white supremacists, like all that stuff. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, and that's another thing. I'm like, Ice Cube, I'm like, all these things that he's like talking about white supremacists or Proud Boys, whatever they want to be called, like calling them like fine people or telling them to stand by, or any of the other things that he said like in a positive way towards them. I'm like, that's Nah, I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't know if Ice Cube is doing this for publicity or what, but I'm like, that's when people, when they always say that to me, I'm like, no, not all publicity is good publicity. That's why I'm like, it's stuff like this, I feel like that will definitely ruin your career. That's one thing they've always tried to tell me. I know when I would receive hate on YouTube, and people always tell me that, like, oh, any publicity is good publicity, and I'm like, look, it gets to a point in time where I'm like, yeah, haha, jokes, funny, and all of that, but it gets to a point in time when, like, things get serious, and that's why I'm like, look, no, like, not all publicity is good publicity, like when they like running, and I personally feel like that from now on, like until Ice Cube like really explains himself, like I feel like his name is just gonna get ran into the ground. Like, and I'm sorry to say it, but I'm like, that's how I personally feel, because I'm like, people are going to look at him differently. People are going to be like, oh, like unsaving his music or throwing away his CDs or doing whatever, because it's like, you've been supporting this man, you've been supporting Ice Cube, following his message, all of that, just for him to do this 180 on us and talk about how he is a part of the Trump administration or something like that. So no, let's see what it's all about. So let's first click on the trend and Double XL Mag. So let's read what Double XL Mag has to say about this, because they it's just coming from a news article, so it'd just be much more easier to find because they've collected everything and all of that. So anyways, so it's the article is titled Ice Cube working with Trump administrations according to Trump's senior advisor. Then it starts off by saying President Trump may have found himself an unpredictable ally in the rap community. On Tuesday, October 13th, Katrina Pearson, a senior advisor of the for the Trump administration, announced that Ice Cube has been working with the President of the United States to develop his Platinum Plan for his presidential campaign. The Platinum Plan is an outline of Trump's platform, which pledged to bring almost $500 billion into black communities, provide better affordable health care, offer access to capital for black businesses, educational opportunities, and more. Pearson tweeted news of the West Coast rappers working relationship with the Trump administration yesterday. Shout out to Ice Cube for, and this is what I guess Katrina Pearson is saying, but it's, she said, shout out to Ice Cube for his willingness to step up and work with @real Donald Trump administration to help develop the Platinum Plan. And it's like ICYM. Oh, I think then it's like the link or something like that to the Platinum Plan final version, whatever it is. But anyways, and it's like leads gonna lead, haters gonna hate. Thank you for leading. The tweet reads, I don't personally call that leading. And I know people are saying that he's selling out, but I'm like, that's what I'm like. I don't want to put him in that category either. I just want to understand, like, why. Like, my thing is, like, I don't care if he was offering me $500 billion. That is something where I'm like, you take that money and then you lose the respect for everybody around you. But if you don't take that money, I feel like that you've gained so much respect. There is going to be people that is going to remember that. My thing is, like, and I know people are like, oh, so you would really turn down $500 billion just for the respect out of people. That's not, like, it's something I'm like, I would definitely think about it. But I feel like that there would be a lot of people around me that I trust that's their love, their respect, all of it, that's priceless. That's something that you just can't. So I'm like, I would rather, me personally, I'm that type of person, I would rather work for my money. I don't want no handouts. So most likely, no. I would like, but that's something I'm like, I wouldn't imagine, like, I'm not going to say I ain't going to think about it. I'm going to be like sitting there. That's going to be like a hard decision. But I feel like towards the end of it all, I definitely will look at all of the closest. Because I'm friends with a gang of black people. I'm black, of course, black family, black friends, black everything. All right. And I'm friends with a lot of Hispanic people. Hispanic people would probably be like my second family. So I'm like, there would be no way possible something like a deal like that would be offered to me. That's why I'm like, I will contact anybody else. I'm like, you can very well take that deal. But me, I'm like, I'm sorry. Nah, can't do it. So, but then he reads off by saying in an Instagram video shared by the 51-year-old rapper Ice Cube on October 11th, prior to Trump's advisor claiming that Ice Cube is working with the Trump administration, Ice Cube explained why he decided to dive into politics. During the nearly 8-minute long clip, Cube chooses not to align himself with Democrat or Republican Party, but instead affirms he has made contacts to talk about real issues. Then I guess this is from what he said in the video, and it's still on his Instagram account. But he said, I've been making contacts trying to talk about these real issues straight up. I believe the Democrats have been nice. What is he? they've been nice. So okay, so he's saying Democrats have been nice. I'm like, what is he saying? Because there's like dot dot dot, and I'm like, was there more that they just excluded out? I'm like, what? So am I gonna have to watch the video? But no, I know what he's saying. So Cube started. Then there's like they've been coordinal, so to speak. I don't really see them pushing their policies in any different directions. They're still talking about this minority people of color ish that don't necessarily include us. They don't necessarily include Black Americans, especially descendants of slaves. So my question is, it's like, what have Republicans done for Black people? I mean, like, and if we really gonna be talking like, if this is all about Trump, it's like, what has Trump done for Black people besides gain their vote? My thing is, like, you can talk a big game like once when you are trying to get into office, but is he going to keep that promise? Is something that I'm going to see like day one or hear about it on day one? Because I'm like, yo, this stuff needs to be taken in effect now. It doesn't need to be something that's taken in effect when you're, at like inches away from getting out of the office. I'm like, that's why I'm like, I just don't understand, like, when they do stuff like that. It's like, you always talk like that big game, but I'm like, I need to see things being done. So that's like with Democrats and with Republicans. This ain't like, when I'm in office, then I'll see, or we'll talk about. I'm like, no, this stuff needs to be done now. I'm like, if this $500 billion is going, but I'm like, but that's the thing though. I'm like, okay, that's going to Black people, but what about Hispanic people? What about all of like the other people that's here in America? There's a gang of other people that's here in America and stuff that they deserve, they deserve pretty much the same handouts, the education, all of that stuff like us, because I'm pretty sure it's harder for other people too. So I'm like, yeah, it's it ain't just, my thing is like, it's it's, I feel like that me saying that it's only about Black people, I'm like, nah, I see that there's far more than just Black people in America right now. There's other people suffering and stuff. So I'm like, what about them? I'm one of those people. I'm like, I'm for the people. So, but anyways, so that was past that. So then it goes on to say he did, however, confirm he has met with Republicans, discussed policies, and say that the political party has proposed $500 billion, presumably to the Black community. And I'm like, look, Q, they might have told you that, but are they going to keep their promise? Like, is this something that's going to happen? I'm like, because I would like to know. I would like to know. So I'm just saying, like, if something like this will happen, then, cool. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to. My thing is, like, I got questions. But, then it's all right. So I guess this is like continuing on from what Ice Cube said in the video. I don't really feel like well, okay, I guess I'll read it. But anyway, so there's like, we also met with the Republicans. They brought us in. We talked to them. Ice Cube went on. They moved their agenda a lot because of what we said. They put $500 billion on the table. Who knows what's gonna really happen? I just know one of them gonna win. I don't know if it can really matter to us. We got pushed to. We gotta just push who's ever in there, cause ain't nobody really solved our problems. People say we can't take another 4 years of this. Black people, we can take anything. Like, no, that's what I'm like, now that's the thing where he's like speaking for everybody. I'm like, you cannot speak for everybody. There's people that when Trump got into office, they are suffering from this. They are suffering hardcore from this. It was crazy when I was like, because I think there was one story, and there wasn't even no Black people involved. Like, no, but there's this story I think that happened maybe 2018, 2017. But this person was, I guess, like a part of the whole like Obamacare plan. And I guess like when Trump got in office and his whole hatred towards Obamacare, it really screwed up these couple. And so the guy was like, he was like suffering. I think I can't remember like the whole story, but I just know that he was suffering from it. And I remember his wife and him were saying that they voted for Trump, but then they was like, they wish they could have taken that vote back. That's when things is bad, when voters are saying that they're not going to vote for Trump and they voted for him at first. They've noticed, they've realized who he is. Like, you, my thing is like, yeah, you talk a big game once you trying to get in the office, but is that stuff gonna really happen? You know, like, so. Anyways, the news of Ice Cube supposedly working with the Trump administration follows the debut of Joe Biden's campaign video involving battle rappers. They explain the importance of voting earlier this week. You can read more about the Trump administration's platinum plan here. After Pearson shared the news on social media and the information picked up across social media today, Ice Cube was met with backlash on Twitter from fans and critics alike. Hearing that Ice Cube, one of my favorite rappers and this is from what I guess like a person is saying, a random person, I don't know who it is, but one of my favorite rappers from the early 90s is a Trump supporter, is crushing F Ice Cube, and Ice Cube fan wrote on Twitter. I don't think they a fan no more, but anyways, and then somebody else said, what's effed up about this Ice Cube situation? He didn't have the courage to say he was working with Trump. He used blackness on his platform to speak on Trump's behalf. He's a coward. I think I read this tweet when I clicked on the trend and stuff. Then there's like, we had to learn about his partnership with Trump from a white woman 20 days before an election. Another person wrote, Pearson is a mixed race, born a black father and a white mother. Del Excel has reached out to Ice Cube for a comment. See some Twitter reaction and claiming Ice Cube is working with Trump's administration below. And it was those tweets, a video, and yeah, there's just some more quotes. So yeah, a lot of people are upset by this. You know, it's like you preached all of this stuff, and then this is what happens. Like, this is, I'm telling you, man, 2020 is the craziest year ever. Do you honestly think though you would have heard Ice Cube supporting Trump? Like, that's something I'm like, bruh, what else is gonna happen? I'm telling you, there's gonna be there's just gonna be some more crazy things being said this year. I'm like, bro, what is going on right now? But anyways, I'm actually just going to leave this episode like this, and then the second thing that I was going to talk about was there was this post that I seen. I need to go get my phone for that, about women's basketball. So I was going to talk about that in the next episode. But anyways, thank you guys for hearing me out. At the end of the day, I'm not going to support Trump, regardless of what he does for black people. I'm like, no, you need to do things for the American, or everybody, not just the American people, not just black people, for everybody. There's everybody in this just country and in this world suffering. So I know it ain't his place of business to really focus on other people outside the country, but to everybody that is in the country right now, like the Hispanic families locked off up in cages, black people dying left and right in the streets, racist people that's going around killing black. Something needs to be done about all of this. All of it. And I'm like, $500 billion to black people. I'm like, that's, honestly, I'm like, after years and years and years of all of this stuff, I don't think $500 billion is not going to do it. It's like, that is something like that. Is that going to be like a forever, thing? Like, can we build off of that? Like, it's being taken away. It's doing this, it's doing that. But can we honestly build off of that? That's my question. So, anyways, but I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching in or listening. If you're viewing this on YouTube, like and subscribe. And if you're viewing this on the podcast streaming service, make sure you follow or subscribe, however it's set up. And talk to you guys later. Peace.